Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Spiritual Midwife, where we nurture the rebirth of your true self. I'm Claire Attio, your guide on this soul sovereign journey, and today we embark on a deep transformative series, Inner Child Healing, which, as these episodes unfold, you will find is an essential part of reaching your full potential in 2025. You might remember that in episode 22, we touched on reconnecting with the inner child. If you haven't listened to that episode, then please go back and do so. This year, we're going deeper because if you're still carrying wounds from the past, they act like invisible weights. They hold us back from the heights we are meant to reach. Over the coming weeks, we'll explore the most common emotions and experiences from childhood that negatively impact us as adults. We'll look at why these emotions arise, how they're stored in our mind and our bodies, and most importantly, how we can start to heal them. Welcome to Spiritual Midwife, the podcast that tenderly guides you through the transformative journey of spiritual awakening and personal development towards the ultimate destination of soul sovereignty. I'm Claire Attio, a medicine woman and dedicated guide to the profound realm of soul sovereignty, and you are listening to Spiritual Midwife. So, why is inner healing important? Let me put it this way. You wouldn't build a home on cracked foundation. The same applies to our lives. If our inner foundation is compromised by unresolved wounds, those cracks will eventually show up, whether they show up in our relationship, our careers, or even our physical health. They show up. But before we really get dug into this, addressing these wounds isn't about blaming our upbringing. Parents are human and they do the best they can with what they have. But inner child healing allows us to build upon the foundations they gave us, reinforcing it with our own self-awareness, own self-love, and own self-care. Let's start with shame. Shame is that deep sense of unworthiness, the belief that something is inherently wrong with us. As children, shame often arises when we are criticized harshly for making mistakes, are made to feel that our needs or emotions are just too much, or are compared to others and found lacking. For a child, the world is very black and white. If something goes wrong, they assume they are to blame. If they're punished, neglected, or criticized, they internalize it as there's something wrong with me. Here's an example many of us can relate to. Imagine a child spills milk on the dinner table and one of the parents had a really tough day, is very stressed and reacts angrily, saying, "You're so clumsy, can't you do anything right?" That child will begin to believe, I'm clumsy, I'm not good enough. And this belief doesn't just disappear. It becomes a thread in the fabric of our identity, showing up later in life as self-doubt, people-pleasing, or fear of failure. As adults, unresolved shame manifests in many different ways. Perfectionism, the need to overachieve to prove your worth. Fear of vulnerability, avoiding deep connections for fear of being found out. Being seen. people pleasing, overextending yourself to gain approval, or what that desire to be helpful, to be good. Self-sabotage, undermining your own success because you don't believe you deserve it. Have you ever hesitated to speak up in a meeting, doubting your ideas? Or avoided pursuing a dream because you thought, who am I to try that? These are all echoes of shame. The beautiful thing about healing is that it's entirely possible, no matter how deep the wound. And here are some activities to begin addressing shame. Inner child letters. Write a letter to your younger self, assuring them that they are lovable and enough just as they are. Read it aloud to yourself. Feel the love from that adult being given to that child. Allow yourself to write it genuinely and then feel it. And you can do this with the second way of healing, is mirror work. Look into the mirror and you can either read that letter or say affirmations like, I am worthy, or I release the shame that no longer serves me. Affirmations can be whatever resonates with you. It's about, does it feel true? Affirmations, just saying things without there being any emotion involved, is just a waste of your breath, a waste of your time, a waste of your energy. Make your affirmations personal, meaningful, emotionally emotive. Playful creativity. I love this one. And I do it using mandalas and colouring in mandalas. But it's engaging in activities that you as a child loved. So drawing, dancing, building, whatever activity that was creative that you enjoyed as a young child, re-engage with that. It reconnects you to a sense of joy and worthiness, and it starts to build within you as an adult. It's healing that inner child. You're giving that child the time, the space. And if you can't remember what you enjoyed to do that was creative as a child, just try new things. Try something that you fancied and you've never allowed yourself to do it in a creative way. Just allow yourself, give yourself the permission and just do it and see how emotionally, energetically you feel different. Sometimes we can go into these things feeling quite low or not even low, but just a bit heavy. And when we finish, we feel light. And it's because you're bringing in those positive energies. You're bringing in that self-nurturing to the inner child and to yourselves as the adult. Create a safe space. Designate a room or a corner in your home which is your safe space, and encourage your inner child to use it. Fill it with comforting items like blankets, childhood photographs, stuffed animals. Spend time there when you feel triggered. When we get triggered, it's because something unresolved in our psyche from our past has resurfaced and reminded us of that unresolved emotion, unresolved incident, unresolved trauma. That's what a trigger is. So if we have a space that we as adults and we as that inner child can go to and feel safe, that trigger will dissipate very quickly. It gives us the time and the space to become responsive rather than that initial reactive. shamanic practices, for that deep, deep work, consider doing a shamanic soul retrieval, for example, where within the session we reclaim parts of ourselves that become lost in those moments of shame. We call them back to ourselves. We reunite ourselves with that aspect of ourselves. And the last one is deep, meditative, inner child healing, where you become in a meditative state, and that allows you to be the adult that you wanted around when you were a child. Sometimes we have come from very dysfunctional families, very dysfunctional parents, and that is because they are in a place of pain themselves usually, and they are not equipped, they don't have the tools in the toolbox to be the parent that they should have been to you. And so in this deep meditative inner child healing state, you can go in and you can be the parent that that child needed in that incident. And if you're going to do this on your own, I recommend that you only do it for short periods of time. It can be exhausting. It's definitely very emotional, but it is also very liberating. It allows you to work through incidents, unresolved incidents, one at a time. But I implore all of you, because it does take a lot of energy and because it is so emotional and exhausting, just do one aspect at a time and then come away and go and do something completely different that will boost your energies, boost your mood, bring joy, bring happiness, bring laughter into your life. Plan an activity for after you have done that type of healing. I do have videos on the YouTube channel that talk you through inner child healing. Have a look at those if you want to know how to do that. Also, there are other people, many people out there that have also created content so that you can start to help yourselves. Now, with that said, I do want to emphasize something very important. Be honest with yourselves about where you are on this journey. If you feel confident working with your inner child independently, that is wonderful. But if you sense that there is some unresolved trauma lurking in the shadows, please consider seeking professional therapy or guidance. Inner child healing is profound, but it is not always easy. Support from a therapist or a healer can help provide a safe container for the transformative work that you are doing. So as we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to reflect on this question. Where has shame shown up in my life, and how has it shaped my decisions, relationships, or sense of self? Sit with it, journal about it, and remember, awareness is the first step to transformation. Over the coming weeks, we'll continue this journey exploring other emotions like guilt, fear, rejection. Together, we'll peel back the layers and rediscover the light within. Thank you for joining me today on Spiritual Midwife. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need this message. And as always, stay grounded, stay sovereign, and embrace the journey, beautiful souls. This is Spiritual Midwife signing off.